Ladies and gents, please give a massive round of applause while we welcome the former British European and WBC former heavyweight champion of the world. Please welcome Frank Bruno!
Thank you. Very kind.
Frank, where do we start with an illustrious career? But it's really, you crack on. But it's really great to see you in Wellingborough. Just tell everybody, what are you doing these days?
I'm doing these days, doing quite a lot. I've been to Edinburgh, I've been to Glasgow, I've been to Newcastle, I've been all over the country at the moment. Just ducking and diving, training every single day. I've got a girlfriend who lives in Glasgow, but my hose bike can't stretch that far. So she came down for a week and we had a little bit of coaching. But yeah, just ducking and diving, you know what I mean? If you're not, I've got the house painted the other day, I've got some builders coming in tomorrow. Light people, cameras going up, shopping. I've got to turn on the Leighton Buzzers Christmas lights tomorrow. Just ducking and diving, just trying to keep happy and bobbing and weaving and keep yourself out of trouble. Not that I get myself in any trouble. I didn't want to get myself in trouble with that. But very nice, very kind.
You'd be able to wrap it around your acting when you get home.
Yeah, the extended one anyway.
Frank, let's go back to the beginning. How did you get into boxing?
I got into boxing, I was very, very young, about 8, I was very, very big for my age. My mum threatened me that if I never behaved myself, she'd send me to a posh boarding school, Borstal. But I tried to behave myself, but I had a couple of junior fights, and when I reached 12, I got sent to a Borstal. But in the meantime, I was doing a little bit of boxing, and I liked boxing, but I got stopped when I was 12, and when I left school with no education, so I just decided to take up boxing full time. So I just got into boxing, I liked it, and I just sussed it out that I didn't have the education to work in the bank, a lawyer, or anything like that. I was a little bit dyslexic, so I just went straight into boxing and won the ABA heavyweight title when I was 18. I was the youngest one to win it. To date, it still stands. I don't know how I won it, but I went in there, I had 21 fights, I fought a guy from Wales, and it was a split decision, and I won it, and I never looked back from there. Started with Terry Lauders and Mickey Duff, and he was a good man. Terry Lauders was a very good guru, a very good father figure, and a very, very intelligent sort of man. Sorry, you couldn't hear at the back.
So where was you born and bred, and what boxing club did you go to?
I was born and bred in Hammersmith, Queen Charlotte Hospital. Moved from Hammersmith to Wandsworth, and I boxed for Elsfield Boxing Club at first as a junior. I boxed for Philip Games Boxing Club in Croydon for my senior career.
You mentioned there winning the ABA. What mindset, especially as a young man trying to learn the ropes, do you have to adopt to be a winning fighter? You winning it at 18, you must have to be in the zone.
I was in the zone because I was very, very hungry, very, very focused, and I wanted to make some money and do well for myself. But if you're going to go into boxing, it's a very, very serious sport. I had a lot of friends who were ducking and diving, doing bits and pieces, but I had to divert myself from them and focus on what I had to do, so I had to give up quite a lot. But I knew I had to give up quite a lot if I wanted to go into boxing, because I had to get up early in the morning, train a little bit more extra harder, and dedicate myself. So boxing is not a sport that you can mess around. It's all right as an amateur, you can duck and dive and bob and weave here and there, but when you're going money prize, you know, they're all different things. Headbutt you, hit you up your tools, that's all. All different things, you know, send all different people at your room at night time and whatever, but it's a very serious game, a professional game.
Was there any sports people in your family, or were you one of how many children?
I had 6, I was the youngest out of 6, but they like watching sports, but actually doing sports, I think they would rather be armchair critics and think that they could control the football match or the boxing match on the armchair, but nothing physical as regards to sports. Whereas I was the only sportsman in the family.
And a good job you seem to have done of it too. Winning the ABA at 18, were you ever tempted to, you know, or had the mindset or thought to go for the Olympic title?
I had the mindset, but I had 21 fights, but there was a guy called Tiffany Stevenson, and he was knocking at everybody at the time. He was at his peak, so I was advised not to go there because I was 18. Very inexperienced, so I was advised not to go to the Olympics. It's always nice to have the Olympics under your belt, because you can write out a check, or the promoter write you out a bigger check, but I was advised not to, so I took the advice and I didn't go to the Olympics.
Is that something you regret now that you wish you...
No, not really. I didn't regret it, because if I'd have come up against Tiffany Stevenson, he was a man, I was a boy, and my balls would never developed well, so I was just playing in with a big man. And sorry to swear if there's any kids in the house and the ladies getting embarrassed of me talking about football, sorry, but yeah, no. Tiffany Stevenson was a very serious 28-year-old man. He was very powerful. He was set in his ways, and I was just a young boy, and I was very immature young boy, so I would have got scarred, I think.
Well, that leads me quite nicely on to the next question, because there's always tricks that management corners do to try and wind up different fighters and different teams.
Yeah.
Are you aware of any of those things?
Yeah, I'm quite aware of a lot of things that people make funny phone calls, send some nice blonde ladies, dark-haired ladies, long-legged ladies with nothing on, or their coat flashing at your door at the end of the day. But they try all different tricks. That's the name of the game. When it's involving money, they do anything to keep you off your track. But yeah, I never succumbed to any of their tricks, you know what I mean?
What about some of the tricks?
Right hand on my left hand when I was in training. You know?
What about some of the tricks you played on them? Can you tell us about some of them?
I don't really play tricks, to be quite honest. I just do what I've got to do, play it fair, so I can sleep at night time, so I ain't got no one knocking on my door, or nobody driving down to my car want to shoot me or anything, so I play the straight.
There are so many points to your career. I mean, like Chris was saying earlier on, when you won the title and so forth, I think that's one of those moments in life where we can all remember where we were at that time.
Yeah.
My personal experience of that is that I was touring Great Yarmouth at the time, and had just come off a stage and managed to get to a place called Haven Seashore, which is a holiday park right at the end before you go splash.
Yeah.
And I had to break into a caravan park and stand on a bench looking through a window, because they actually couldn't get in, to watch a telly that was hanging on the walls. They're monumental moments in boxing that you remember. But James Bone Crusher Smith was your first high-profile loss, followed by Tim Witherspoon. In both cases, you were leading those fights. On reflection, how would you have avoided getting beaten in those fights if you'd had your chance again?
If I had my chance again, I can't really have my chance again because I'm an old man now. I'm old enough to be someone's granddad. But in the day when I fought Tim Witherspoon, I'll give him a run for his money, but I was glad I got beaten by Tim Witherspoon, because if I would have beaten Tim Witherspoon, I would have been the undisputed champion. I wasn't ready, I wasn't experienced, I wasn't a man enough, I couldn't handle all the pressure what he came with, but I'll give him a run for his money, and at the end of the day I was knocking him over pretty quick, and sometimes it tests you to see what sort of like character you are. You can't win all the time, you've got to lose before you can win. So I lost against him, and he was very hurtful. By the end of the day, losing against him, it got me to the ground to really get myself up again and build myself up and be more determined. You know what I mean? He was a good fighter, Tim Witherspoon. He's a better fighter than a lot of people give him credit, and it's sad that he ain't one of the big names out there at the moment now. And now, he's around, but he's not making the big corn and the big names that people give him the credit that he deserves, you know. But he was a good fighter. I'll give him a run for his money, but unfortunately I ran out of gas, unleaded. They weren't unleaded at the time, so I had petrol, but that's the way it goes. Sometimes you've got to look at life. You have good days, you have bad days, and some you win and some you lose, but sometimes the ones that you lose are more to see what sort of like character you are, and I lost, but it made me more determined. Bone Crusher Smith, he was another man. I was 21, 22, he was nearly 30, and he could hit like a mule. I was ducking and diving for about 8 rounds, but my head was unlucky to get in the wrong way. He stopped me, but yeah, I have no qualms about losing to the people I lost to, because they were the world champions, and they were very tough, and they were men.
When you look at, like you just said, coming back off of a loss, what does a corner team say to you on a Monday morning when you go in to train? You've spent 12 weeks training, you've got yourself up for it, and just not crossed the winning line. How do they get you motivated for another fight?
They can look at you and see how you feel, or whatever. They can talk as much as they want to talk, but it's what you got in your heart, what you got in your desire, how hungry you want to be. We all have different jobs. Some might get the sack, some get laid off or whatever, but you've got to pick yourself up and go and do something else, you know. A lot of the youngsters don't understand today, fathers and mothers in the olden day, they took any sort of like jobs and just had 3 jobs, had 4 jobs or whatever, but the youngsters have got it very, very easy today, but you just got to dust yourself up, you know what I mean? Get over your pain and just get out there and duck and dive and train a little bit more harder and be hungry as you were when you first started.
Did you have the same trainers all the way through cornermen? Or did you change those?
I had Frank Black, Jimmy Tibbs, Terry Lawless, and then I ended up with George Francis at the end of my career, you know, because I fell out with Terry. I regret falling out with him, but then things do happen. But I had George Francis at the end, and he was a good trainer. Frank Black was a good trainer, Jimmy Tibbs was a good trainer.
For you, which one did you find that got the best out of Frank Bruno?
It's difficult, it's wrong for me to sit here and say who got the Jimmy Tibbs was very, very good, motivated, was a good trainer. Frank Black was a good trainer, Terry Lawrence was a good trainer, and George Francis, they all had their different ways in life. You know, the nice thing about it, when I went with George, it was personal to me. He didn't have too many people to train, so I had him 24 hours. If I wanted to train, I'd go over to Hampstead, run the ponds. If I wanted to go to the L Farm in the springs, I went there, chilled out, and trained very, very hard, so he was with me all the time. Unfortunately, when Jimmy was there, Frank Black, he had Charlie McRae, Johnny O'Gardner, Sylvester Mitty, Tony Adams, Lloyd Hannigan, so many boxers to concentrate. He was a factory, merry-go-round and conveyor belt, and everybody had to be looked after. And some people were very, very envious and jealous if I got more attention than them. By the end of the day, it's the way the cookie crumbles. But George, at the end, I had him all the time, and I'd say it was good.
Are you one of those natural trainers, or did you find it hard getting up? I mean, like Scott Quigg at the weekend lives in the gym. You know, he had a world title fight, 3 days off, straight back in the gym. Are you one of those natural trainers? I love the gym.
I love training. Even now, I love training. I don't do no boxing training, but I run up hills and I push myself, and I'm on the rowing machine, on the bike, and do circuit training. I love training. Sometimes it's good for your mind to go out there, and sometimes when you've been training all your life and to sit at home, you can put on so much weight. So I'll keep it real and just love training. You know what I mean? It helps in the bedroom sometimes if you get lucky. Can't wait to test this belt.
Just think, after the next one that you find, you can present her with that and say that's how good you were. So 2 losses down. So 2 losses down, it's back to the drawing board, and you're probably now best known in your boxing career for the 2 legendary fights against the man himself, Iron Mike Tyson.
Yeah.
You've got to let us into the secrets of those 2 fights. What's it like fighting Mike Tyson? Please don't tell me that you're perfectly not having any nerves before the first.
The funny thing about it, when Terry Lawless, Mickey Duff and Giles Astaire took me to America for nearly 3 months, Tyson was 15, I was 19, and he came to be my sparring partner, and the Castamada was there and whatever. And it's amazing how the years he transcribed into Incredible Hulk, and he done very, very well. But sometimes when you're boxing and you condition yourself to go in there, you know what I mean. If you're scared, you won't go in there. You're nervous more than others, but you go in there, you train yourself, and you go in there either to be beaten or to beat him. So you go in there to war. It's not an easy game, boxing, but boxers would understand. I've got a young guy on my table who's doing the amateur boxing. He's been boxing for 2 years, but the confidence, what it gives them, and the belief what they do. And if you want to do something, you just go in there and do what you've got to do. And unfortunately, I tried my best against Tyson, but it wasn't good enough. So you just win some, you lose some.
You would have watched, along with the rest of the world, Mike Tyson sparking everybody out in 20 seconds, 30 seconds, 1 minute.
Mm-hmm.
When your corner say, Frank, how do you fancy that?
Yeah.
You telling me you never had 2 thoughts?
No more thoughts than fighting Bonecrusher Smith. When I went over to America and I saw Bonecrusher Smith, the BBC wanted to get me to fight a hardened opponent, and the promoters were trying to say, look at that bum up there, he didn't like no bum to me. You know what I mean? He was hitting the guy, and the guy was doing some breakdancing body pop at the same sort of time. So You know what I mean? I'm more worried about fighting Bonecrusher Smith because I knew that he was a set guy, and if he got you in the corner, you could do some damage. But in boxing, that's what you're there for. You train yourself, and you go in there and just go in there and try your best.
So you get the first shot at Mike Tyson, full house.
Yeah.
You are a national treasure in England. Unbelievable night. Tell us about the first Mike Tyson fight.
The first fight with Mike Tyson was supposed to be at Wembley, but Don King gave Mickey Duff a brown envelope, and all of a sudden it's gone to Las Vegas. The fight was suspended about 5 different times. He had a wife called Robin Gibbons. He was crashing his car. He was having a lot of different problems. So the fight was suspended about 5 different times. But eventually, when we went in there, done what we had to do. Unfortunately, weren't very, very good enough. Some say I rocked him, but I didn't know how to follow up. But I always say Specsavers are doing 2 for the price of 1. I like to go around their house and watch the fight with the slow motion and tell them I was definitely trying to wobble him, but when I wobbled him, he would have done like Elvis, he's got you know, he had to tilt with a little bit, but when he come off with Elvis, he made me break dance body bottle at the same time. That's the way it goes, you know.
He turned you into Michael Jackson?
Well, not literally, but you know what I mean. I was doing some of his moves and make
You get to the end of that first fight. How does Mike Tyson come back to Frank Bruno? Is he calm, or is he just?
Very nice. He was very, very complimentary and whatever. But I think it would make me more happy. It would be nice if I would have been the other way. But this way it goes. Some you lose, some you win. But winning against him, trying the best, not the best one, good enough. So I have nothing to grumble about that at all.
So you lose the first one, you go back to the drawing board, and you can't go, how do you fancy a second go at Mike Tyson?
No. The reason I got the second chance to get Mike Tyson, I had 3 attempts at it before. Bonecrusher Smith was the eliminator, Tim Witherspoon was the first world title fight. I think Mike Tyson was the second, Lennox Lewis was the third. I didn't have nowhere to go, so Oliver McCall knocked out Lennox Lewis in 2 rounds. So it opened the door for me to go for that route. But Don King and Frank Warren took me to the hotel room. Didn't do nothing funny. I had my wife there, but I wouldn't let my solicitor come into the room. He said to me, if I want to fall for your title, you'd have to sign this contract. If you beat Oliver McCall, the next defence would be against Mike Tyson. So I didn't have no say. I was in a desperate situation. I was 33 years of 33 with a little bit of VAT on top, nearly 34. So I didn't have too many places to go. So they put a carrot dangling in front of me. So I just had to sign it because I wasn't in a strong position to say anything else. So I just went for that route.
So that was the package they really put for you. But on the 3rd attempt for the World Championship, you, as you said, you mentioned and fought against Oliver McCall. Now, he had some personal problems.
I don't think he had personal problems then. He was he was flying Concorde, he was in a aggressive way, he was happy. A lot of people took him crying, coming into the ring crying, as personal problems. But I think in the corner, in the dressing room, some trainers tell fighters that someone said about your mum, and it gets them angry, it gets them very, very determined and wants to hurt the opponent. So Don King must have said something to him, and you know what I mean, got him into that stage where he was crying, he wanted to knock someone out. So I don't think he had personal problems at that stage in his life. I think he had personal problems after he lost the title or whatever, but I don't think he had personal problems when he was coming out. A lot of people took the crying as personal problems, but he wanted to kill someone that night, and one of them was me.
Yeah, he was certainly standing his way. But you win the fight. Tell us about that fight. A career-defining moment.
It was. I've been in the game for about 35 years, and been near to the top of the hill with the Bonecrusher, the top of the hill with the Tim Witherspoon, near the top of the hill with Mike Tyson, and you know what I mean. I was very, very desperate, and I trained very, very hard. Dedicated myself, went to a training camp for 6 months, didn't see a woman. Well, I did see a woman, but I didn't touch a woman. For about 6 months, I was like a camel with a hump on his back. And I was very wild when I went to the training camp to dedicate myself, and it worked for me. You know, he wasn't an easy fighter to fight. He was buzzing that night. He just knocked out Lance Lewis. So I thought he was going to come over to Wembley and knock me out, but I was very, very desperate and very, very hungry, and come out victoriously after the fight.
What do you remember about that fight, Fred?
Everything about the fight, from the first bell, from the first training camp, leading up to the fight, having 4 different sparring partners, going to the training camp, couldn't see the kids, focusing in, concentrating, just everything that your losses and your wins and all what people were saying. I remember everything about that fight, everything like I need to know about that fight.
And did you feel something was different on that night? Did you feel like, when you consider the other 3, was there something different? You look back now and you think, do you know what, there was just something different about that night. I knew I was going to win.
I was more experienced, I was more mature, I was very, very set, and I was desperate. A desperate man would do desperate things, but when he's focused and he's hungry and the pressure's on him, he can't go no. I mean, it's his last chance. I was just focused and hungry and zoomed into that fight.
Listen, it's well documented that what you've been through in your life, but I think you're in great shape these days. I have to be honest with you. You're in a good place. And I can honestly say you had the best of one of the best heavyweight divisions that there was in history. I mean, you look today at the current heavyweight division, who's out there that's going to really take Klitschko off his perch? Probably nobody.
Yeah.
You've got our British boys that are not really coming through. The only one is obviously AJ Joshua. I can't see anybody stopping Joshua to get a world title.
No way.
Tyson Fury.
I was just going to mention that's coming up.
I like Tyson Fury. He's a very, very good boxer. He's very, very skillful, and he's very, very big. Sometimes he may say things that he regrets later on, but at the end of the day, sometimes Chris Eubank used to say different things. Nigel Benn, Barry McGuigan never said nothing crazy, he just kept it proper. But yeah, there's some heavyweights out there. Like, I think David Hay, I was talking to a young gentleman next to me, he said he's going to come back. But in the 70s, in the 80s, in the 90s, in the borderline 200s, there had some serious heavyweights around there. But I think boxing's slowly picking up. But as you say, in that era, there was some unbelievable boxing.
You look at boxing today. I'm not going to tell you the figures, you know the figures. The contract that they've just given to Joshua and Anthony Ogogo are absolutely, you think Wayne Rooney's earning, these guys are scheduled to earn fortunes. What was the money in the days that you used to box?
For security reasons, I can't really say. No, you know, at the end of the day, as footballers get more money these days than they do in the olden days. Boxers are supposed to get more money, but unfortunately, with the cartel, like with Hearns controlling Sky and Frank Bruno with Box Nation, I don't think. I was talking to a young boxer next to me, and he was saying that what he got when he first started to what he's getting now, it doesn't seem right, because going into the ring is the most hardest thing that you could ever go for. You got a family, you got a mortgage to pay, you got kids, nappies and whatever, and what they're getting is not fair, I don't think. But at the end of the day, the boxers should stand up for their rights and demand that they should get, because footballers are getting so much millions now with the good agency or good manager and whatever, so I think the boxers should get that as well, to be honest. Yeah. We're talking about a different era. You know what I mean? A lot of boxers put bums on seats, they've sold a lot of tickets to their fans or whatever, so they should get a percentage out of that, should get a percentage out of television, and the promoter should, you know what I mean, they should drop it a little bit more harder.
What was your biggest generating fight for revenue?
I think it was against Mike Tyson. I wouldn't like to go into details how much I got, because it's personal, but yeah, I think the Mike Tyson fight was a big fight. You know, I mean, the Tim Witherspoon fight was a big fight. You know, Lennox Lewis fight was a big fight. But at the time, that was serious corn. But when you look at it, you got to pay your manager, you got to pay your trainer, you got to pay tax, and you got, you know, I mean, it doesn't seem as much as what you think. But it was bigger to getting £3,000.
You must have some cracking. You must have some cracking stories because you had some sharks around you at that time. One of the biggest promoters, obviously, was Don King.
I don't think he was a shark. He was a shrewd businessman. You know, it's wrong for me to sit here and disrespect him because there's people that have got people as bosses that the bosses have got 50 people that they're working for. Everybody always wants to slag down the boss and put down, but the boss takes a risk and he puts money on the table. He's paying their wages and paying their holiday pay and pensions or whatever. So I never disrespect a boss because the boss has got to take a lot of risk. So you've got to have a lot of respect for a man that you're employed by. That's your governor. So.
You got any funny stories about Don King and what he got up to?
I ain't got no funny stories at all. That the check never bounced with me, so I ain't got nothing to talk about. And he's a very, very powerful man, so he can make a phone call. I might not be here today.
There are some scary people in this world, Frank. Who's the scariest person that you've ever come across?
The taxman.
Well, I can honestly say on behalf of 160 people, Frank, that have come out in Wellingborough tonight to see you, I know not a lot of people do get to see you these days because you are busy up and down the country and so forth. But when you sit and meet one of your boxing heroes over the course of a lifetime, it is a wonderful experience. And for us at Wellingborough here tonight, Frank, you've lit the room up once again. It is a pleasure. Ladies and gentlemen, former heavyweight champion of the world, with a massive round of applause, Mr. Frank Bruno.